Hello, everybody. Welcome to your EFL Championship round 13. Hot takes, bit of a classic championship weekend, this one, wasn't it? Loads and loads of goals, 39 across 12 games, which gave us not one, not two, but three hat tricks. I think we got threes, fours, and 1-5 to talk about. We got plenty of surprises. We got the end of the big undefeated streak at the top of the table and some awkward home defeats for managers under pressure. If you wanted that pressure valve released, nope. The exact opposite for three, you know who I'm talking about, of our championship managers at time of recording. No corner flags have been posted by EFL Championship admins so far. Get involved down there if you were involved, if you were at a EFL Championship game, if you've just got an opinion on one of them, get it down there in the comments. We will start with a Wrexham badge up there. And for the majority of the season, we've started with a Coventry badge up there. We're still going to start talking about a Coventry game, but they've lost for the first time this season. It's been an outstanding start from Cov. 12 undefeated, but they went under 3-2 at Wrexham on Friday. No, I think that just set the tone for the weekend. Big narrative, big story, loads of goals. First hat-trick of the weekend, a virtuoso second half, all across 25 minutes. That big Kiefer Moore, right foot, header, left foot, perfect hat-trick. Pretty perfect night for Wrexham. And this wasn't a case of the league leaders just getting caught out in a tricky away game and a bit smash and grabby. I thought Wrexham were decent value for it. Coventry not quite there as they have been. I mean, a lot of people telling me Coventry have been giving up lots of chances, and maybe the undefeated streak could have gone in weeks previously to this, but it hasn't, and they've rode it out quite beautifully. Coventry. To be fair to them, they did have changes. 3 out of the back 4 were changed, but more, and we've got to mention Windass, who set up all 3 of the goals, had just a superb period in the second half. And Wrexham, 1 loss in 8. And look, it's obviously nice. You can pad the stats and pick your narrative, but this is going to be a bit of a theme for today, and I want your thoughts on this in the comments. There's a lot of my research where, and it kind of goes in with one of my pet peeves of the transfer window closing at the end of August, but we're getting a lot of flip arounds in form and a lot of runs starting for teams that show a disparity in what's happening in August versus what's happened since. And Wrexham are one of those teams, and go figure, busy summer. But you do get the feeling now, if they get the front 2 out of Moore and Windass, I thought, they've now got James and Sheff and O'Brien in midfield. It's really solid. Kachache and Kabore, so I'm naming the whole team here, at wing backs, and they've got big, powerful centre backs, and they've made that change where it's now Hyam rather than Cody. I think they've found their team. They haven't found their formula because they got promoted 8 years in a row or whatever it is, haven't they? So they know the way they play, and they're playing well, and they're looking decent. Wrexham, so good value for that one. And unbeaten runs have to come to an end. They've got 2 more goals, Coventry, so they're still dangerous up top. Mason Clark scored the first one, didn't he? Sakamoto goal and an assist on the night. So when you're looking at Coventry, and they've had so many star performers up there, whether it's Thomas Asante or Haji Wright or Victor Torp or Sakamoto on this night, Mason Clark scoring. So that's still good. And I guess the thing for Coventry now is just get on another undefeated streak. And the way the schedule is going to work, and this is important, and I know people think I labour the point, but we've had this 2-3 game week block thing. Take a look at the next block, because it ain't 6 games, it's 11 games now, which takes you right through past Christmas Day to the FA Cup 3rd round, which will be in sort of week 2 of January. So if Coventry can have decent form, you are literally at round 26 not at round 13. We'll have played double the amount of games by the end of the next block. And yeah, obviously Frank Lampard is going to say all of these things in the interviews. Well, it's done, build another run, but you give yourself plenty of margin for error. It's funny, isn't it, how a team can be top of the league, and because it's the only defeat, that defeat gets more attention than any other defeat by anybody else at any point in the season, doesn't it? So I get it. It's a big, long, undefeated run that's over, and they've just got to start on another one and keep it building. 28 points off 13 is excellent. The 2 points per game, the longer you can go, the better. And we're about to talk about 4, Coventry being one of them, of the top 6 going into the weekend, not being able to get a win. So, could have been a lot worse for Coventry, but well played. Wrexham, they move up to 15th, 7 points in 3, having played the top 2 in those 3 games, is excellent. And the other member of the top 2, their badge isn't up there either. Watford 3, Middlesbrough 0. I mean, this is a really fascinating one. I look at the stats, and please tell me if you were at the Vic yesterday. It looks a pretty even game, so I'm going to make the leap that penalty boxes, Watford finishing, wins this game, doesn't it? And we'd mentioned, particularly, we mentioned loser all season, and right in the early rounds, we looked at Keramgard as a striker who could maybe score plenty of goals, and they're the guys on the score sheet. Watford 3, Middlesbrough 0, and yeah, Watford, I mean, we're talking about disparities between August and then the rest of the season, and what about Watford at home? 4 wins in a row. They have 0 away wins on the board. They go to my lot, Ipswich, in midweek as well, so they're really trending complete opposites, home and away at the moment. Loser gets the first goal, and my God, Middlesbrough fans, have we found a flaw in the seemingly flawless Hayden Hackney? How does he lose? Loser. He looks like he's completely ran back with him and tracked him perfectly and just loses him at the last minute, and Loser sticks the opening goal in a rare mistake from Mr. Hackney in central midfield. He seems to have been pretty perfect this season. And then you can see the reaction on the Boro centre-half's face when a pretty deep cross, they don't look like they're defending terribly badly, goes into the box. It's a half chance, isn't it? And Keramgard smashes the second one. And then you're like, oh, what's happening here? We've come down south and we're 2 down in 32 minutes. So, yeah, it can just go that way, can't you? And the game can swing. And then the third one flies in straight after half-time. And if you're a Watford fan, you're like, beautiful. Played the penalty boxes perfectly, scored, pretty much each, and 4 shots on target in the game. First half, 2 shots on target, 2 goals. Bosh, and away they go. So, a day of fantastic execution, I think, for Watford and Javi Gracia. I'm not going to commit to what Watford are at the moment. They've obviously changed managers. They've got massively conflicting information at home than they have away, but they got some very good players. Loved Iran Kunda first few weeks. Love Loser. Keramgard's getting goals. Let's give it a few weeks. If you can tell me what Watford are in the chat, that'll be a big help. Rob Edwards returning to the scene of his, couple of months of management back in, God, I can't even think what year it was. Was it 22, 23, 21, 22? I can't remember what year it was. Back-to-back wins to start the block for Boro, this block of 6. It looked like, they'd got things moving and bit of a sense that they'd had a massively brilliant start and then a little fizzling out, and then those back-to-back wins help. But I don't know, it's then, so what, they got 3 wins, 3 winless prior and 2 since. So what's that, 3, 5, 7? So look, 2 wins in 7 now. I don't know. Is it fizzling slightly? They're still right up there. They're only 1 point off points per game. But I do think, is there a bit of a sense with Boro that they're nice and solid, and they gave themselves a little bit of margin for error up at the top with the amazing start? I don't know. You tell me your take on Boro. Is there a slight fizzle? Is it fair to say that? We'll see what they could be saying completely different if they go back-to-back for the remainder of the week. I assume they're going home now, are they? I see a Leicester City badge up there next for Boro, so that may be a nice fixture. Watford 3, Boro 0. And I mean, what about this? Stoke 5, Bristol City 1. Yeah, I'm the one that sits and reads out Derby and Stoke's results like they're binary code, like they're complete zeros and ones the whole time. Excuse me, struggling with the throat again. Stoke have scored 1 or fewer goals in each of the last 10 games. And then, of course, they're going to score 5. And, just an insanely good attacking performance by Stoke. Feels like all of their... I mean, I don't want this to be the case. All of their attacking quality clicked in one game here. They're going to go back to zeros and ones now for the next 10 games. But Mubama gets the hat-trick. There's a crazy howler from Vitek in goal. But Mubama's obviously excellent in this one. Manhoff he's been good all season, actually, Manhoff. And so has Thomas. So you now look and you say, include Bay in there in the number 10 position. If Thomas, Manhoff and Mubama, if 2 out of 3 of those are performing well in a game, it has a really good look for Stoke, because you know Mark Robbins is going to have them super, super solid. And the whole thing with that Coventry team that got to the playoff final, extra time, penalties, sudden death, is they were really solid, and then they had Gyökeres and Harmer, didn't they? So, I don't know. Could look really good for Stoke if Manhoff, Mubama, and I suppose it's good news that Thomas, who we said week after week, Thomas either scores or sets up like half of Stoke's goals, doesn't he? Well, he didn't get any goals or assists. Chamadou, nice goal from him as well. So, yeah, just happy day for Stoke. And I suppose in this type of matchup where you've got a Bristol City team who likes to press high and is a bit countery, and you've got a Stoke team who likes to sit a bit more and is a bit countery as well, if it goes loose one particular way and one team ends up chasing and one team executes, maybe you can get a strange result like this. But everyone, I remember me and Sam discussing this in the predictions, we're like, right, it's 1-0 either way. This one, it's low scoring, it's tight with Robbins and Struber, but no, went completely the other way. So amazing win for Stoke. And I wonder how many goals Mubama might be on for. Could he be one of those classic... Bristol City themselves had one with Tammy Abraham, didn't they? One of those classic loan signings where you can get a real tune. I remember Rhian Brewster at Swansea, where you get your loanee from the Premier League who bangs in loads of goals and can be the difference. So, yeah, well done, Stoke. And obviously with Middlesbrough and Coventry both going under, and Stoke now going back-to-back wins, 3 wins in 4, in fact. They close up the gap to the top 2. For Bristol City, I mean, do you just write it off? They'd gone a 9-point week, Bristol City, so it's a little bit extremes, isn't it, of complete brilliance to an abject 5-1 defeat. By the way, first away defeat of the season, this one for Bristol City. I think you just have to say sometimes it goes like that. One team really turns up, one team maybe really doesn't. One team's forwards on fire, one team's goalie makes a howler. And you're sat here with a 5-1, aren't you? So, yeah, well played, Stoke. They go up To within 1 point, as we said, of the top two. Bristol City regroup. Who have they got next? Blackburn, who we're going to talk about a good win for them later in the show. Millwall could not capitalise. They would have been in the top two had they clung on to the 2-1 lead they had here going into stoppage time. But it was Oxford 2, Millwall 2, in a bit of a Gary Rowett derby here. And they don't get the 5 wins in a row. Millwall so close. Looked like it was teeming down there. Always feels a bit worse weather-wise at Oxford with that open end. Look, you're obviously going to be disappointed when you come away from a game and you've conceded a 96-minute equaliser. And by the way, both goals were scored from outside the box for Oxford. Hell of a strike by Cameron Brannigan. Rowett in the post-match mentioning his highlight reel and throw in some of the League One days for Brannigan as well. He was always like that. But, yeah, for you XG lovers, 2.42 to Millwall, 0.63, 96-minute equaliser. I just get the sense all the Millwall fans are going to be like, oh, man. 2 points dropped, chance gone. But it's Rowett, isn't it? He stays in game, he gets results. It's Oxford, they get results at home as well, don't they? So 7 points in 4 for Oxford. And I think one thing you do need to say for Rowett and Oxford, both the goals came late in the half where they're trailing both times. So it's kind of like double resilience, isn't it? But yeah, the Millwall excellent run. I mean, look, they've drawn a game. If you look at it, they've still got 13 points in 5. You're not going to win every single one. It's the Championship. You've got to account for a bit of chaos here and then, and maybe it was just that. But yeah, they look at it. They look very viable, and a bit of slippage up ahead of them has tightened it up. So yeah, we put a poll out actually on the community tab on the Benjamin Bloom football channel, talking about Millwall's expectations. Still the majority of people are like, oh, if they get playoffs, it's okay. But I don't know. They look a pretty viable top 4 team at the moment. To Millwall, Oxford. It's a strange little gap opened up. Must be the biggest gap in the table, mustn't it? Yeah, 4-point gap. Well, other than Sheffield Wednesday, who've had a minus 12 points. Obviously, haven't they? But it's a 4-point gap between Oxford and Derby. Is that the beginning of a bottom 7 establishing itself? It can't be, can it? Not with Norwich and Southampton and Sheffield United in that bottom 7. But yeah, Oxford would like to keep in touch. I'm damning with faint praise. I don't want to patronise Oxford, but we know with the budget and, the requirements there that, just get as far up from the bottom as you can is the thing. They want to keep as many people involved in that as possible. And scoring late goals and staying in games and not losing when you've conceded 2.4x2, 2.42xg is helpful. Millwall 2, Oxford 2, Millwall 2. It's early on a Sunday, guys. Bear with me. Get your views in on all of those. Wrexham, Cov, Watford, Boro, Stoke, Bristol City, Oxford, Millwall. Let's move on. Right, we will give Preston credit. Southampton 0, Preston 2. But let's move on to the first of our managers in dugouts under huge pressure. And that guy is Will Still. And please, you're all very quick to come at me in the predictions when I get it wrong. So give me a bit of credit when I bloody get it right. Because not only did I predict Southampton 0, Preston 2, but exactly how it went. I said, Preston are going to be a horrible opponent. They're going to get in front. Southampton are going to push, and then they're going to score a second right at the end. Thank you and good night. That is exactly what happened. And a very consistent, a team that's performing well side in Preston. Just able to go to St. Mary's and do a job. They're just, even though on the balance sheet, all of those things squad depth, squad quality, you'd have Southampton way ahead. Preston are just a far better side at the moment, and they move back in to the top six. Back-to-back wins for North End. Back-to-back goals for Lewis Dobbin. He kind of forces that first one home, and then on the counter-attack, Frockier gets the second after good work from Tor Darson. Preston clean sheet. And even though, this is just typical Southampton, isn't it? They have 64% possession. Southampton have fewer shots on target, and Preston have pretty much 4 times the XG of Southampton. I guess the goal for Dobbin, where he has about 3 shots in 2 seconds, helps with that. But still, the point stands. I don't expect the Preston centre-backs will have come away thinking, oh, that was a really, really hard game, wasn't it? It's a team out of form, out of confidence. And as we're going to mention, with Leicester and, extremely with Norwich, where we're doing Norwich next, aren't we? The anxiety and the apathy and the suspicion in these home stadiums does... and I get it. I'm not having a pop at the Southampton fans. They're entitled to feel how they feel, and it's understandable when a Year 1 parachute team is 21st. And not just that for the Saints fans. They've been losing all of last season as well. But it's not a good concoction, isn't it? A non-confident team, a non-confident fan base, and, put all of that together. It then becomes a nice place to go and play football for away teams in the Championship, and Preston go there and get the victory. How many home games has Southampton lost now? It's only the second one of the season, but yeah, it's not a good hunting ground for Saints right now. Let's give Preston credit, and they are the parachute killers, aren't they? That is the complete set. They've beaten Leicester, Ipswich in back-to-back games. And in fact, they've done these in back-to-back games. Sheffield United are now on the road. Southampton, they have beaten all 4 Year 1 parachute teams. All 4 parachute teams. Preston so far. Let me say that again. Preston are the parachute killers. Leicester, Ipswich, Sheffield United and Southampton have beaten all 4 of our parachute teams this season. Just one thing to say, Iverson, he's great in goal, isn't he, for Preston. There's one brilliant save there where he flies to his left and tips it onto the crossbar. And that's how it's going for Preston at the moment. That's how it's going for Southampton. That ball stays out of the goal, doesn't it, given where these 2 teams are at the moment. Big boos for Will Still. And I get it. 3 defeats on the trot, 1 win in 12. November international break, managerial graveyard coming up for, him and a couple of other managers we're about to mention. They go to QPR. They're at home to Sheffield Wednesday, beleaguered Sheffield Wednesday. They have to get 3, 4, 6 points from those 2 games, don't they? Here comes another 2-0 home defeat. Norwich 0, Hull 2, and we have to give credit to the away teams, but obviously at this point in the season, not a lot's going to be decided up at the top of the table, where Hull City are just on the edges of the playoffs, but stuff can definitely get decided in terms of boardrooms and managers' periods at clubs ending, so we will focus a little bit on Norwich. But Hull, superb, absolutely superb. 4 wins in 5 for the Tigers. And if you want to do a little 5-game form table, Millwall can match them. But then they'll be ahead of Coventry with a defeat in there as well in the 5-game form table. So they're really flying at the moment, Hull. Great job. Jurkiewicz did not see that coming. With all the chaos at the start of the season, it didn't look like it was going to be anywhere near the playoff positions for Hull. But we know that Mr. Ilachali does generally leave a pretty decent squad for all of his managers there, even with embargoes and whatnot going on in the background. And he's left Joe Gelhardt there, who's got 4 in 4. And Gelhardt, bit of an arrested development kind of player there, where it all slowed down at Leeds after bursts on the scene with Wigan. And you think, ooh, Premier League player there, England age representative. It's coming good now for Gelhardt. Don't know how old is he. What he must be 22, 23. 4 goals in 4. And Hull up in 7th position. Sorry, let me just give you Gelhardt's age, because that's just going to annoy me while we are doing the show. Where did he play? Yeah, 23. But yeah, enough of Hull. You're excellent. Let's talk about Norwich, who are abject, terrible, and more toxic than you can imagine. It's just a horrible, horrible place, Carrow Road. And, you know, the club, having been used to perennially challenging at the top of the Championship, the fans, understandably, are struggling to cope with this big change to losing every week and being down at the bottom. And I get it. It's kind of, I know they've had bad runs, Norwich. And if you think about it, I think at the end of was it the end of a Dean Smith season possibly? They had a horrible run. And at the end of the Johannes Hoff-Torrup season, they had a horrible run. So it's not like the Norwich fans can't take losing or haven't seen losing. I think when you then pair a terrible end to the season to a terrible start to the season, and you see where they are right now, it's a new reality for Norwich fans, because that then puts you in a very clear relegation battle, doesn't it? And yeah, wherever you've been, whoever you support, if you lose literally all of your home games, every single one of the home games, and it's a new manager, and it's a sporting director who hasn't necessarily performed well since he's been there, Ben Napper, and it's a relatively new ownership from Delia over to the Atanasio family, then, yeah, protests, smattering of tennis balls on the pitch, but outside the game, I don't know, bit narky, fans not happy, don't want to allow the bus and the players in the car park to leave, spilling over outside the ground. It's never a great look, never a great feeling. And I said this at half-time during the game. We were covering Leicester Blackburn. And I kind of came back from a half-time cup of tea, and it was like, who's watching Norwich? What's happening? And it is that Norwich were on top. And someone told me, Sargent's missed an absolute sitter of a chance, and it's 0-0, and they're playing all right. And your brain goes, right, so one of two things is going to happen probably here. Norwich are going to break the seal and put a whole game together and get the win, or they're going to find a way to lose this game, because that's the moment they're in. And they found a way to lose the game, didn't they? Gelhardt allowed to run through, and then JB follows one in late to make it 2-0 at the end. And yeah, I like Liam Manning. Don't think he's a bad manager. I think you can take the wrong job at the wrong time and lose loads of games and not be a bad manager. But if you are the wrong guy at the wrong time, then you need to be replaced by the right guy, don't you? And I know Sam has a magic number of 6 defeats, doesn't he, in a row, that normally does for a football manager. Well, that's 6, and they're losing all the home games. And yeah, you're just imagining the corner flag is going to come at some point. Hasn't come yet this weekend. And Liam Manning's going to get sacked, isn't he? Bless him. 2 more games until the international break. So, I don't know. If they lose both of those games, Sheffield Wednesday, Norwich have got coming up. I think they've got Leicester at the weekend. Am I right in saying that? I mean, are they just leaving it so there's no element of chance here? Because if he gets a result in one of those two games, then you can say, right, we'll go into the run through to Christmas, which again, as I said when we were talking about Coventry and putting another winning run together, it's an 11-game run. It's not a good time to change managers during that 11-game run. You're really throwing someone into the washing machine while it's spinning, aren't you, there? And I suppose if they lose the two games or they don't win either of the two games, then you can make the change saying, okay, it's not working. I don't know. Not good at all for Norwich. Norwich 0, Hull 2. Get your thoughts in the comments on that one. I've said enough. Charlton 1, Swansea 1. Charlton, I think, were in the top 6, weren't they, to start the day? Yeah, they drop below Hull and Preston. They drew Hull against Swansea. Charlie Kelman off the mark. That's good news, isn't it? I think he's featured in all the games, so that would have been 13th attempt to score for Kelman, who scored an absolute hatful on loan from QPR to Leyton Orient in League One last season. So it's a proving ground here in the Championship. Can he get on a run now, hopefully for his sake? And speaking of a run, Charlton looks steady and consistent. I think Nathan Jones was fairly magnanimous. And I think... So people will laugh at the idea of Nathan Jones being magnanimous, but he can be. Watch his interviews right till the end. I think the point he was making is that Swansea came strong at the end there, and Key could have unlocked the 3 points there right at the end, and Swansea could have nicked it. But one loss in 9 for Charlton. 0s and 1s in 8 of those games as well. So they're very, very strong defensively, Charlton, we know. And generally, if they get the 0s and 1s, they get points, i.e. they're able to get goals as well. Swansea, as we say, could have nicked it. I think at the moment, if you go into Charlton, you come away with something. It's a difficult place to go. You're probably happy, especially at the start of a 3-game week when you might be able to go home later in the week. Interesting for Swans, it is fizzling a little bit in. I had a look, and again, it's that theme of August versus post-transfer window stuff. 2 wins in the first 4 for Swans, 2 wins in the next 9. Adam Eder in the goals. I know money's been spent on him, so I think that's his second goal, though, for Swans. They're going to want a return from him. But remember, they're getting a return from Vipotnik and Ronald, and they could become fairly potent up top, couldn't they? Swansea. Finally, for this 4, QPR 1, Ipswich 4. Claxon, Ipswich win an away game. By God, first away win of the season for Ipswich. QPR, 3 losses in 4 games after a really superb run, wasn't it? QPR, if you remember, lost 7-1 at Coventry and then I think scored 14 points in 6 games. But, they went under 4-1 here. Ipswich are weird, and I say that with all love as an Ipswich fan, because the numbers tell us 5 wins in 8 games, again, since the close of the transfer window. It's almost like it's ridiculous that you finalise your squad 4 games into the season, isn't it? How's that for a concept that's never going to change, probably, is it? But so they're actually in decent form, up there with the likes of, we mentioned those sides, Hull and Millwall and Coventry. They're probably the only ones. I'd need to freeze the form table since the start of September. Probably the only ones who've scored more points. Are Ipswich anywhere near a finished article? No. They've gone back to back. I saw Ipswich in the flesh last week, and, they laboured to a win against West Brom. Okay, West Brom were quite defensive, and That's what Ipswich have been up against, particularly at Portman Road. But then, hey, they haven't been winning any away games, have they? And, there was this sense that Ipswich can't get the right formula, and Smodic started and went off hurt, and Akpom came on and went off hurt, and then Nunes came in at the number 10 position. And has that solved the problem now? Nunes comes in and plays 10 for Ipswich, and he scores 2 goals, but they were both free kicks. So you can then still make the argument, well, effective, yeah, 1-4-1. Versus, is the pattern of play complete? No. But if you're a year one parachute team, does it matter if you're not the complete article, if you've got a really strong squad and you're winning games? So, yeah, a bit of a weird one, because when you make the comparison to the well-oiled, brilliant pattern of play that Ipswich had in 23-24, it's very, very different. But, mate, it's sport. Just win. Just win. And Ipswich won 4-1. So that's why it's a bit of a strange one. Move up to 9th. And then it's Watford in midweek. So could potentially go 3 for 3, Ipswich, and be moving towards the top 6. Remember, they've got that game in hand. And I should mention, George Hurst scored twice. So Ipswich do have, I think, 3 players on 5 goals now. Philogene, who's... See, this is why Ipswich are strange. They've got a striker on 5 goals, who the fans are getting on the back. They've got Clark on 5 goals, who barely starts and has come off the bench. Got Philogene on 5 goals, but they've all kind of been outside of the box worldies. So it really does feel that the squad power and the individuals are powering Ipswich at the moment while the pattern of play gets going. And I must say, and McKenna made this point in the post-match, a couple of the goals did start to look like the pattern of play is coming, where the ball's worked and crosses are put in for Hurst to score. That's what you want the end point to be if you are of an Ipswich persuasion. That you add the 2 things together, the squad quality and the individual likes of Clark and Philogene and Nunes to be able to score individual goals alongside team goals to be created for George Hurst and whoever's playing in the 10. But if it's Nunes and he's banging in a couple of free kicks every game, then that works. So the curious case of Ipswich Town, but you got to be happy with a 4-1 win. And you have to say that about Ipswich as well. They've scored a 5 against Sheffield United and a 4 against QPR. If they do get it right, they have got the potential to do a bit of a Coventry run maybe and just score a ton of goals across a period of the season. So, I don't know. More on Ipswich tonight on the Blue Monday podcast, which I'll be hosting, and I'll get the guys' thoughts, see if they can help Mike. It's okay to be confused. Ipswich might not be the finished article. They might have a load of really good players. It's fine. Might be exactly what's happening. But you can find out more on Blue Monday tonight. Get your thoughts in. Now, that'll be live at 8 p.m. down the Blue Monday channel, by the way. Get your thoughts in on Saints versus Preston, Norwich, Hull, Charlton, Swansea, and QPR, Ipswich. Right, let's get on to the last 4. I'm going long. Birmingham 4, Portsmouth 0. It's a classic championship weekend. This is a Birmingham side that couldn't really put together a 90-minute game and score more than, 0s and 1s for Blues in 10 out of 14 games before this one. Did it all click now? Is this the Blues side of last season? Although you must remember that Birmingham didn't, scored 111 points, but it wasn't like 3s and 4s every week for Birmingham. They just controlled and, strangled teams, didn't they? And won games without necessarily tearing teams to pieces. But this is a great performance, wasn't it? And not just the missed penalty, but other chances. Yeah, it could have been a 5 or a 6. We could be talking about Birmingham and not Stoke being the top scorers this particular round. As I mentioned, missed pen early in this one, but They react well, don't they? Pike gets them in front, and then the floodgates open a little bit. Iwata, Clara, Anderson as well, and yeah, just a really dominant performance. Yeah, no shots on target for Pompey, so the defensive side is great, and scored from some set plays as well. And if you're a side like Birmingham want to play, and the ball gets circulated, and your fans have to be a bit patient while a lot of possession is happening. By the way, interesting, only 42% possession yesterday. It don't half help if when you can get a set play, you can score from it as well. That is a big, big part of the game, isn't it? So, yeah, you tell me, is this a turning point for Birmingham? Is this some kind of click that will give the side confidence? And is he finding the 11 as well? We spoke about Clara and Neumann. Go with those two. We spoke at the start of the season about Iwata and Pike being a good partnership, but one's at fullback and that gets Doyle in the team. Is that something that you can now just stick with and, run through? And Dukes of Hazzard up the top. Is this a team that Davies should just stick with now for a while? And again, I'll mention it, an 11-game run between International Break 3 and FA Cup third round weekend. Portsmouth are struggling, aren't they? Miles off it in this one. 3 losses in a row. And if you want another post-August stat, only Norwich have scored fewer points than Portsmouth since, in September and the whole of October and one day of November now. So I like Pompey a lot. I like John Messinio a lot. I think they've got some good players. They put out a really good front four, actually. But they are 2 places above the bottom 3, and the 3 teams directly below them, 2 of them are parachute teams, and the other is Norwich. So you don't really want to be there right now because there's some chance, like I say, there's every chance. There's a chance that one or more of those teams will get moving at some point. They might not. Might all stay down there. 2 of them might get relegated. Stranger things have happened. But, yeah, get yourselves up the table, Pompey. West Brom 0. Sheffield Wednesday 0. I mean, every point feels like a win for Wednesday this season, doesn't it? And that is the 5th game that they've scored points in Wednesday. Obviously, they're on -5 points and they, will essentially be going down. But, fight on the pitch. That's what you want to see. Clean sheet. Horvath in goal in good form in this game. Is it viable? Probably not. 62% possession and 16 shots conceded in this one. But, as I mentioned, kind of rightly now, I saw West Brom at Portman Road last week. And it's going to sound really mean. They have at the moment the worst traits of like a Scott Parker team. And I know Scott Parker's been promoted a few times, but at his worst, his teams are really overly methodical. And you look at these really good players and you're like, play off the cuff a bit, move ahead of the ball. You're allowed to get out of your shape and have a bit of chaos and a bit of energy, especially with people like Mikey Johnston, Isaac Price, Alex Mowat, players who can score from long range and dribble and have a little bit of you-know-what. Illing Jr. as well, up their sleeve. But, yeah, they're not producing it, West Brom. 1 win in 5, 0s and 1s in 11 of their last 12 games. So they are not an attacking force, West Brom, are they? And I guess not being able to score at home to Wednesday illustrates that. Let me know your thoughts on that, West Brom fans. Underachievement in terms of attacking output for the Baggies. And 12, they're scoring fewer than a goal per game at the moment. West Brom. Speaking of underachievement, let's talk about Leicester, who lost 2-0 at home to Blackburn. And we did it on the watch-along. And I'm very conscious, as I was with Hull and Preston, that we need to give credit to Blackburn, who nailed it, didn't they? And they've also nailed back-to-back parachute wins, having beaten Southampton last time out. It's just a good away performance, wasn't it? They played with the wing-back system and the three at the back, and that means you can get three in midfield still, and a couple of players up front. And Ahashi was a good runner up front, and Good Johnson's a big brute and scored a couple of goals. The thing that needed to go for them went for them. There is an insane save in the second half. God knows how he saves this. I thought it was just like a Soth in goal for Blackburn. I thought it's just a Peter Schmeichel, throw yourself at it. But he, like, go gadget, leg, hyperextension, right foot, saves a point-blank 1v1 from Mavididi at 1-0. So you need that bit of, call it an amazing save. There's always an element of luck, to those flash 1v1 thing. Call it what you like. That worked for Blackburn, and then they grabbed the second goal. I like Alabiosu as well. He had a good game, the right wing back. Nice dribble to get Good Johnson his second. So yeah, Blackburn, great win, back-to-backs. They're still in it, aren't they? As I've mentioned with Pompey, you're still feeling a little bit tetchy if you are Blackburn, Pompey, Oxford on, 13 points there, all of them, with the big underachieving, underperforming teams directly below you. So, but hey, they've won back-to-back games. They've got that game in hand. And you can see a team, which is more than you can say for Leicester. And yeah, again, like Southampton and like Norwich, it's a nice place to go for an away team. There's a lot of anxiety. It's 3 losses in a row. And is it fair to say at the moment, if it's not a worldie from Fatawu, Ramsey, James, just look a bit impotent up front, although it's a bit of a hapless game for Mavididi, who Mavididi of 2 seasons ago would have scored 2 goals in this game, wouldn't he? So, yeah, just not clicking for Leicester. And I have absolutely no evidence of this other than Party Marty Cifuentes' demeanour and a couple of post-match interviews. But is there a bit of a manager not having the players, player not having the managers, players not having the manager here? I don't know. Something not quite right in between what's being asked of the players and what they're doing. Yeah, it doesn't feel great for Leicester. And look, they're below Ipswich now, but for the most part this season, they've been the most consistent of the parachute teams. However, it had been on the back of, certainly from Fatawu, who's maybe the best player in the division, mightn't he? Certainly up there. Maybe would they be even lower without individual quality? What do you think? Let me know in the comments. But I'll finish it by saying great win for Blackburn. Great back-to-back wins. And Cifuentes joins not quite Manning and Still levels, but in the words of Queen and Bowie, under pressure. Sheffield United 1, Derby 3. Derby have won 3 in a row. Carlton Morris scored a hat-trick, so he joins Kiefer Moore and Divin Mubama in the hat-trick Hall of Fame in round 13. Someone look that up. Have we ever had 3 hat-tricks in one round in the Championship? Someone find out for me. Ask an AI bot. They'll figure it out for you. Sheffield United have 10 defeats this season. And I believe I'm correct in saying 5 of them are now Chris Wilder's and 5 of them are Ruben Selles. I'm not going to draw a conclusion from that. If you want to draw one, you can. Wilder rightly pointing out, I mean, was he passing the buck a little bit? He's very clever, Wilder, with his management of the narrative. Was he passing the buck to the players a little bit here? I mean, and the referee for the penalty call. He's kind of right, is he? Well, he's definitely right for the second goal. Free header from a set play. Well, that can happen, can't it? You know, you don't need to switch off much to do that. And Morris is an absolute brute in the air. Obviously, the second goal is ridiculous, where if you haven't seen it, Sheffield United literally kick off, go up the pitch, and then without Derby touching the ball, it goes back, and Morris is just like clean through on goal for his second. So, can you imagine being a football manager and doing your halftime setup, and that's the first thing your team do in the second half, and then Morris, you know, have your views on the penalty, makes it 3-0 and grabs the hat-trick. O'Hare is in good form. He gets one back. But yeah, Sheffield United are not out of the woods here, are they? It looked like Wilder. I mean, it's so strange because they're just handing goals out like no one's business. And I was doing the Preston Sheffield United game, and Sheffield United are 2-0 up. And I'm sat there going, this is going to be 3 wins in 5. You know, they're in really, really good form. And then all of a sudden, they basically concede 6 goals without reply. 3 to Preston and then 3 to Derby. And you're like, okay, well, that's now defeat number 10, which obviously is more than anybody. And we can raise the start of the season. But as I said, Wilder has now lost as many games as Sellés has, if I've done my adding up and my timelines correctly. So, you know, the 10 defeats are not purely down to the awful start and the one manager, when the other manager has lost equally as many. Will he get it right? Probably won't he. It's Wilder, it's Sheffield United. He knows what he's doing, doesn't he? But they're still in the bottom 3. In fact, they are 3 points adrift in the bottom 3 and have a horrific goal difference and play Coventry in midweek, which means if they lose that game, they'll go into the international break and it'll be the end of November and they'll still be in the bottom 3, won't they, Sheffield United? I've spoken quite enough. Sorry, I'm really struggling this morning. Oh, it's winter. And the kids are about to go back from half term, so God knows what germs I'm going to be passed tomorrow by Enid. But anyway, I want to say nice things about Derby, who I think I predicted they'd be 10th. So they've been way lower than I expected. They're now 17th, but they have won 3 on the bounce. And Carlton Morris scored 4 in his first 4, none in his next 7, and 4 in his next 2. So his 8 goals have essentially come in 6 games. I know it's very easy to say that, but I think the thing you want to focus on is that weird run of 7 where he doesn't score at all there for Derby. And yeah, we know what they are. And we spoke about Wrexham, didn't we? That if you've got your system down, and you might be one of the more, I want to say passive, that's not fair. One of the sides that lets teams come onto you and play from that base. But if you're good at it, you will climb the table. Look, if you're good at any system in a football league and you've got a good manager like Eustace and, you know, goal scorers, Morris working, Agyemang and solid championship players around them, you will climb the table. And that's what Derby are doing right now. They just need to keep the run going. Eustace has been good at that over his career, at building momentum in terms of that hard to beat base, and you know, they're going on winning runs now, on a winning run at the moment. I'd better stop, firstly on the basis I've done 54 minutes, and secondly on the basis that I'm dying here and struggling to talk, and feels like there's a sore throat or a cold coming, or maybe I just talk too much. Maybe 2-hour watch alongs over Friday and Saturday has done for me. So it's over to you. Get your views down there in the comments on Championship Round 13. A cracker, wasn't it? Loads and loads of stories. Loads. If you can't find something to talk about in the comments this week, I don't know when you'll be able to find one. The Championship giveth, you discuss. Make sure you hit the thumbs up button and you've subscribed while you are down there. I'll be back hosting Blue Monday tomorrow night, and it's a 3-game week, so my God. I'm going to be busy, so it'll be predictions with Sam on Monday. Probably catch up with Matt SB for League One as well on Monday. And then Matt and Connor for 3 at the back, some Premier League stuff on Tuesday. We are watching along. Can I remember these games? Can I, heck? Coventry, Sheffield United, Tuesday night. And then a Championship game on Wednesday night that I can't remember. I think it might be Wrexham again. Is it on Wednesday? Pompey Wrexham we'll be doing on Wednesday night, the Glamour. And then Thursday, more predictions with Sam. And there'll be no watch along on Friday because I'm playing a show. You can come and see me with That's So 90s, if you like 90s music, at the Robin in the West Midlands at Bilston on Friday night. And then I think we're back for a Saturday watch along. God knows who that'll be. Blackburn Derby, I think it might be. Anyway, that's my week ahead. I'm going to go and drink something hot and wet, probably with lemon in. And I'll see you for Blue Monday at 8 p.m. if I can speak. There are your hot takes.